I am so excited today to have everybody here, and especially to have an individual that was willing to come and talk a little bit about what his journey and his transformation has been like. And I'm going to get emotional. So I want to introduce Mitchell Morris. I started working with Mitchell. I was called down to Red Oak, Shenandoah area, to meet with a young man, and I'm just really excited about the progress he's done. We do have a past plan that's been able to provide some extra money for him to be able to pursue his dream, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that today. So here's Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As you can hear, my name is Mitchell Morris. Just a second, let me get this mic. Yeah. Okay. My name is Mitchell Morris. I grew up in a small town of Shenandoah, Iowa, with my mom for 17 years. I was born with a disability called PDNOS, known as Pervasive Development Disorder, which branch off between autism and Asperger's. I grew up also with a disorder called OCD, called Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder. Living with my mom, I became anxious all the time that my disability interfered with my life. From about age 8 to 17, I went to doctor to find a solution for my problem, but I found no hope whatsoever in finding a solution for my problems. I'll tell you that OCD is a disorder that you will dwell on thoughts and behaviors over and over again. I would continually dwell on my thoughts and my problems. I would dwell on Santa Claus and Christmas all year long. That when Christmas came, I felt relief in my anxiety that it felt over to me. But when I was 15 years old, I was so wacky and crazy in my mind that I wanted to become Santa Claus. But soon later, I began thinking to myself about religion. I believed that I was a prophet of God, and I wanted to start my own religion. But that's when everything fell apart in my life. I began not to take showers for days, and I had very poor hygiene at that time. Living in my mom's house, I was very difficult to handle my problems and behaviors. My mind was in a very deplorable shape living in my mom's house. Overcoming my problems looked impossible to overcome in my life, but I have learned how to cope with them ever since the day that I moved to my dad's house. It changed my life forever. On the day that I moved to my dad's house, I began a journey to live independently. But it first started before I moved there, I began to think suicidal thoughts. I heard voices that were not there. They told me that I was the devil and aliens were coming after me. But when living there in the past, my mom, it began to increase as I grew older. It wasn't until I decided to move to my dad's that it all decreased in my life. But I haven't seen and heard things in my life ever since the summer of 2004 at my dad's house. When I moved there, everything began to change in my life. I began a journey in my life to overcome my obstacles in my path. I would become very shy and timid to somewhat sociable now. I got off of 17 pills to 3 pills a day. I began a time of testing and tribulations by learning how to deal with my anxiety. I still had a lot of obsessive thoughts living at my dad's, such as Santa Claus and Christmas. I still believe that he was a real person to me. Living at my dad's, I moved out from fantasy into reality. Life was still difficult living there, but I felt I was pushed in believing that I couldn't follow my dreams or accomplishment in my lifetime. I felt that I would never go into the ministry field in my lifetime, or because I was told that I couldn't accomplish my dreams. Although everything in my life looked impossible, I was able to get through it and learn how to better handle my problems and my disability. When I moved to the group home, I learned how to become more independent and handle my obsessions and anxiety. When moving there, I made a lot of accomplishments in my life. I've learned how to not become anxious by learning how to take deep breaths and take a day at a time, and renewing my mind by dwelling on good thoughts rather than negative. When I lived there, I learned the best way not to get anxious is by staying busy and not doing anything. It's better. So, other accomplishments I have made in my life is by taking my own medicines on my own. I got a key to the group home, and it was wonderful to have freedom like that. Some of the accomplishments I've also made is one of the greatest is I got a community job at Hy-Vee in Shenandoah, Iowa. When I worked there at NSK through an 8-clade site in Corinda, doing the job right and doing the job well. One of the reasons I liked working in the community is I love serving people, I love helping people, I love helping people to know their destiny and fulfill their call in their life. That's when I started to make too much money, and one of the reasons I got a community job at Hy-Vee. That's when I met a benefits planner to talk to me about Social Security. That's when I started to learn about the PASS plan. While living at the group home through Initiative Productions, I had a support of my staff, especially my friend named Heidi. She would always encourage me that I can accomplish my dreams and I can do all things through Christ. She would find the confidence to believe that I can become all that God has created me to be. And she would encourage me to excel to the highest level in my life. She would always say, you can be independent, you can fulfill your call in ministry, even if it looks impossible, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. She would always remind me to meditate on the good things in my life rather than the negatives by thinking on the promises of God. I have found for me to handle my obsessions and the worries in life is to think on good things rather than negative things. Just recently, I have moved on my own in my own apartment. It was so wonderful. I loved it. At my Forest Park Manor in Shenandoah, Iowa. But I still have some support of my staff helping me with my finances, preparing my meals, and transporting me to places like the grocery store. I plan to eventually drive my own car and get my own driver's license. I hope to someday to be a pastor of a church. I plan to go to Grace University to get a Bachelor's of Science degree in Christian ministry after I completed my AA degree in General Studies at Iowa Western. My hope in life is to tell other people about Jesus and the freedom it brings in him. As a person grows up, they begin to know how to better enable themselves to become an independent adult. A person must learn how to think things for themselves without having someone else do the things for them. I still struggle at times thinking negative thoughts. But I am reminding myself that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And with God, all things are possible. Life at times can be difficult, but even through the difficult times, you can all make it through the situation. It has been a real journey for me to go from a sheltered workshop environment to a community job, and from a group home to independence in my own apartment. It is possible for anyone to do this. If I can do this, you all can do this too. Thank you all for your support and allowing me to share my story of my journey to independence. Thank you. Any questions?
If you have a question, write it down.